Welcome back. In this video, we're diving into Lesson 1.2, Legacy AD versus Cloud Identity in Microsoft Entra-ID. If you come from a traditional IT background, you likely spent years managing Active Directory, domain controllers, and local group policies. But modern cybersecurity has completely changed how identity works in the cloud. Before we jump into our hands-on labs, it's critical to understand why and how this architectural shift happened. By the end of this short lesson, you will be able to clearly do three things. First, you'll differentiate between traditional on-premises Active Directory domain services, ADDS, and cloud-native Microsoft Entra-ID, understanding why Entra-ID is not just AD running on a virtual machine in the cloud. Second, you'll be able to explain the fundamental shift from physical domain controllers on your local network to modern, internet-facing identity providers, OIDPs. And third, we'll contrast legacy, chatty authentication protocols like Kerberos and NTLM with modern web standards, specifically OAuth 2.0, OpenID Connect, and SAML 2.0. These concepts are foundational for any cloud security specialist, system admin, or engineer preparing for exams like the Microsoft SC300. So let's jump right into the first concept. 1. The architectural shift, domain controllers versus identity providers, IDP. Now let's look at the big picture on screen. This diagram breaks down the fundamental architectural shift between traditional Active Directory on the left and Microsoft Entra-ID on the right, plus how organizations connect them together at the bottom through hybrid identity. Let's start with the traditional world. On the left, we have traditional Active Directory. This is your on-premises identity infrastructure. At the core, you have physical or virtual domain controllers. They are the central authority living inside your corporate data center. Then we move down to network boundary. Users and devices connect strictly over your local network, LAN, or through a corporate VPN. Then we move down to target resources. AD was designed to manage additional desktop computers, on-prem Windows servers, and legacy corporate applications. Finally, we move down to management tools. In this additional model, security and configuration are enforced using group policy objects, GPOs, and local single sign-on, SSO, works via internal domain trusts using protocols like Kerberos. Now, look at the right side, Microsoft Entra-ID. This is cloud-based identity. Instead of managing local server hardware, Entra-ID is a globally distributed identity platform managed as a service by Microsoft. If we start with target resources, it natively connects users to modern cloud and SaaS apps like Microsoft 365, Salesforce, ServiceNow, and custom web applications. 10. Regarding the device support. Unlike traditional AD, Entra-ID is built for modern work styles, easily managing remote laptops, bring your own device, and mobile devices over standard internet connections without needing a VPN. Then we move down to modern security controls. This is where cloud identity truly shines. Entra-ID gives us enterprise security features right out of the box, including conditional access, evaluating user location, device health, and risk in real time. MFA and identity protection, automated risk detection, and multi-factor authentication enforcement. Passwordless authentication, supporting FIDO2 keys and Microsoft Authenticator. Now, you might be asking, do companies have to throw away Active Directory completely? The answer is no. Most enterprises operate in a hybrid identity model, shown right here at the bottom of the diagram. Using tools like Microsoft Entra Connect Sync or Cloud Sync and Federation, organizations sync their on-premises Active Directory users straight into Microsoft Entra-ID. This allows employees to use one single set of credentials to log into their local office desktop and all of their cloud applications seamlessly. To summarize, traditional AD protects your internal local network, while Microsoft Entra-ID secures your cloud identity wherever your users go. Now let's move into Section 2 of our lesson, Authentication Protocols, Legacy versus Modern. Understanding the technical protocols behind identity is critical. The way we verify user identities inside a traditional local network is completely different from how we authenticate users across web services and modern cloud applications. Let's start by breaking down the legacy protocols many of us grew up with in Active Directory. In traditional Active Directory, authentication relies heavily on two primary protocols, Kerberos and NTLM. Kerberos uses a ticket-granting ticket (TGT) model. Once a domain controller verifies who you are, it issues tickets that grant you access to local network resources without needing to re-enter your credentials. NTLM, on the other hand, is a legacy challenge response protocol that steps in whenever Kerberos fails or isn't supported across the network connection. But here lies a fundamental problem in a modern, cloud-first world. First, both protocols rely on chatty, unencrypted internal LAN protocols like LDAP, SMB, and RPC. Second, they were never built to cross the open internet safely, exposing ports like 88 for Kerberos or 445 for SMB directly to the web invites catastrophic attacks. And third, legacy authentication is inherently vulnerable to modern internal attack vectors, such as pass-the-hash, golden ticket attacks, and local credential dumping. This is exactly why we need modern, web-native standards for cloud identity. To solve these security challenges, modern cloud identity relies on HTTP and HTTPS standards using JSON Web Tokens, JWT, and XML assertions. These protocols are lightweight, secure over web connections, and natively support multi-factor authentication, MFA. Let's break down the big three modern protocols. 1. OAuth 2.0. Remember, OAuth 2.0 is for authorization, not authentication. Its purpose is to grant an application specific permissions to access resources on behalf of a user without ever exposing the user's password. A great real-world example is clicking Allow this app to access your Outlook calendar when connecting a third-party scheduling tool. 2. OpenID Connect, OIDC is the authentication layer built directly on top of OAuth 2.0. Once the identity provider authenticates you, it issues an ID token containing information about who you are. A classic real-world example is clicking that familiar Sign In with Microsoft button on external platforms. 3. SAML 2.0, it is short for Security Assertion Markup Language. SAML is an established enterprise standard specifically designed for single sign-on into corporate web applications and SaaS platforms like Salesforce, ServiceNow, or Zoom. It works by exchanging XML-based assertions between the identity provider, like Microsoft Entra-ID, and the service provider app. To wrap up this module, let me bring everything together in this quick comparison matrix. This table is your ultimate cheat sheet for contrasting traditional Active Directory with modern Microsoft Entra-ID across 6 key architectural dimensions. Let's walk through them row by row. Primary role. Traditional Active Directory acts as your local directory and internal network authority. Entra-ID, on the other hand, operates as a global cloud identity provider, or IDP. Core server. With Legacy AD, you are responsible for provisioning and maintaining physical or virtual domain controllers. With Entra-ID, it is delivered as a fully managed software as a service, SaaS, platform. Microsoft handles all server maintenance, high availability, and scaling for you. Network dependency. Traditional AD relies strictly on line-of-sight connectivity to your local area network, LAN, or an active VPN connection. Entra-ID operates natively over standard HTTPS, making it accessible securely over the open internet from anywhere in the world. Primary protocols. AD relies on legacy internal protocols like Kerberos, NTLM, LDAP, and SMB. Entra-ID replaces these with modern web standards, OAuth 2.0 for authorization, OpenID Connect for authentication, and SAML for enterprise single sign-on. Device management. In traditional environments, endpoints are managed via domain join and group policy objects, GPOs. In the cloud model, devices are joined via Entra-Join or Entra-Hybrid Join and managed modernly through Microsoft Intune for cloud mobile device management. Security perimeter. Finally, traditional AD builds its security perimeter around the physical network firewall and corporate boundary. Entra-ID shifts completely to identity itself, protected dynamically by real-time conditional access policies. Now that you understand how traditional Active Directory compares to modern cloud identity in Microsoft Entra-ID, we have one final foundational step. Before we dive into our hands-on labs, we need to explore two essential cybersecurity concepts, least privilege and zero trust. See you in the next lesson. Do and forget to subscribe to get all our courses.